Hello everyone and welcome to a new WARNO video as we start a new tutorial series here in which we will look into each unit type, explaining their base role on the battlefield, how to use them and which mistakes to avoid. And if you don't want to miss the other parts of the series, consider leaving a subscription and a like down below so that more people see these as well. And also let me know in the comments what you like about this, any constructive feedback for the upcoming ones. It really helps. As yeah, we're just starting new into this one. And in this first episode, we're gonna talk about what we have in front of us here. We're gonna talk about infantry. And infantry is the most common unit type on the battlefield and the biggest denominator between all divisions. And whilst it is also maybe the most misunderstood unit type and often the most misused unit type on the battlefield. So yeah, first we will go over the strengths and weaknesses of the unit, and then we're gonna look into some specific use cases for it as well. Let's start with the strengths, and one of the first things that comes to mind in infantry is that it is more numerous and cheaper than most other categories. So you can get a lot of these guys on. We are just focusing on infantry, not on the vehicles that they come in this one. So yeah, for example, 35 points here for the reservists. That's pretty cheap. You get a lot of most of these units as well, especially if you compare them to artillery and other specific units that are just there as a support. So they are your bread and butter on the battlefield. Another strength is that infantry can go into buildings, something that other units just can't do, and that gives you more use cases for them that just no other unit can fulfill. They have decent stealth and optic stats as well compared to other units. The good stealth really helps them out quite a bit, and the normal optics also mean that they at least can see things that are shooting at them for the most part. They also can't be one-shotted, and they don't have side armor. Like, their armor stats is not working because they are HE targets, and that means that most things don't quite outright one-shot your infantry. Infantry takes a couple of shots to take down, and that is pretty important. Like, a tank can get side-shotted, dies one shot. Medium tank or IV gets one-shotted with a ATGM, dies one shot. Infantry, you have a bit of time to react to whatever shoots at them, and you don't have to rotate them around either, so that they can get into spots where they can potentially be hit from the side without having to worry about that too much. So that's the strengths. Let's come to the weaknesses. And the weaknesses are that these guys are pretty slow. They only go 24 kmh. They can move through all terrain, but they don't do it fast. So infantry also, on top of that, has pretty low range on their weapons. Like, even the ones with ATGMs only can shoot 1,250 meters, and that's a problem because most other things can shoot you from further away. So you have to use your stealth to get into these engagement ranges, and you mostly fight against other infantry, and best everything else can just kite you unless they fight you in specific areas. And also, infantry doesn't have any armor. That was a bit of a pro because it doesn't get blown up by heavy hits like things with armor. It can be by AP rounds, but also it means that nearly everything can shoot at your infantry in some capacity and stun them and kill them off, which obviously is a weakness for the infantry as well, as they have to be kind of fearful of everything on the other side and take their engagements at the right spot. Like, the AT is outranged by most things and so on. So that's the weaknesses of infantry, and the combination of low speed and low range really means that you have to bring them into the right spots to actually have some impact. So yeah, that's the strengths and weaknesses. Let's talk about some use cases here. And this segment I have split into 5 parts, each about a specific task infantry can do. And we're gonna start with recon in force. In general, infantry is in a supporting role in WARNO. They don't have high killing capabilities, but they are hard to get rid of for the enemy, allowing your other units to really shine. And moving infantry ahead of your more valuable units and more vulnerable units to get around, to spot a bit, to be able to figure out where the enemy is at, is a really, really important part of this. They are still best used close to cover so that they can disengage when needed. Smoke infantry, smoke grenades that have been a bit more around lately are really helpful for this as well. But if you need, you can go over an open field as well in front of your tanks. If you have enough fire support, enough IVs behind them, that can work out as well. And you always should send your infantry first, no matter in what position you are in, because they are replaceable. And as I said earlier, they can't be one-shotted as easily. So spotting for your other units, if you have enough infantry in your deck, is really, really helpful with your infantry, as it also allows your recon to see the enemy, because when they fire, they lose stealth. They get a malus on their stealth for each round they fire at you, so that can be really helpful to just reveal the enemy positions in combination with your recon as well. And the second role is fighting in towns. Here, specialist infantry is really important, as engineers and special forces with submachine guns can be really impactful here. You have to get really close to get satchel charges and shock to work. Most of the time you have to get into the enemy building. If you can get there with smoke, that's really helpful. And on the other side, some infantry here can struggle. Sniper rifles and medium machine guns, for example, won't work under a specific range. For snipers, it's 177 meters, at which range they just can't fire below. And for medium machine guns, it's 35 meters, so they can't shoot when the other unit is in their building with those. And battle rifles also have to be careful. They're good on the defense in towns, but you shouldn't fire whilst on the move with them, as their accuracy drops real low as well. So moving around with German, French, and Dutch infantry especially can be a bit more problematic in those scenarios with their normal baseline infantry. And even in towns fights, you are not the biggest killer. The biggest killer there is artillery and bombers. So your infantry, you still want to keep that moving so that the enemy doesn't have an easy time zeroing down on this, because in the end, infantry fights in the town often are grind. Numbers are super important, and as I said, the special forces and engineer units there can have a lot of impact, especially with good submachine guns and good flamethrower units, like the RPOs and the flashes can be really impactful. But bombs and artillery still can kill everything faster than the infantry can itself, so you want to be really careful about that. And the next segment is the other area where rangers are limited, and these are forests. So forest fights, infantry are really important in as well, but there will be a lot more vehicles around than in the closer urban areas. So AT weapons are more important here. You want to have at least one good AT infantry unit around with your infantry group in the forest, as you will have to fight IIVs and APCs a lot more there, and if you don't have any AT weapons that can kill those off, you will get overrun just by the vehicles that still move faster than your infantry through the forest. And the ranges are also slightly higher, so snipers and medium machine guns are a good bit more efficient here. Plus RPOs and so on can still be really helpful, while satchel charges and shock trade are a lot harder to use, because to activate them you have to get close to the enemy and 100 meters or 25 meter range, and you just don't quite get there with those units. So yeah, what you want to do with infantry in the forest is often try to flank enemy units and stay around your vehicles in the forest so that the enemy can't get a side shot with their infantry on yours, whilst you try to get a side shot or rear shot maybe even on their vehicles. Like if you can get an RPG-7 behind an enemy tank and one-shot them, that is massive value. Also, try to clean up enemy recon with your infantry through pushing them through the forest to make it easier for your vehicles to stay hidden and get the first shot on the enemy vehicles. As even if the enemy recon infantry is decent at fighting, most of them aren't, but you should still be more cost efficient if you push them with normal infantry, because you don't pay extra for the extra stealth and recon capabilities of those units. So yeah, that's the focus on fighting in forests. Bring a bit more AT, and you can use the mid-ranges a bit more, so submachine guns and so on are still good, but not quite as important. The next one, number 4, is holding tight spots, which means that you put the infantry in a cover position, at a position where line of sight is limited, and at a spot where the enemy has to push through to gain territory, to gain good spots and capture points. and where your infantry can immediately fire once the enemy enters. So in buildings, in forests behind the ridge, and so on, where your AT launchers and infantry weapons can open up as soon as the enemy gets over there, and where the enemy can't shoot you from further away and can't get all the fire support on you. And infantry is especially good for this, because if you put a vehicle there, the enemy might still be able to survive their first shot and shoot back at you and kill you immediately with one shot. They can't quite one-kill infantry, so they have to get a bit more on target to get that infantry really killed off, and giving you time to react, and also giving you or infantry some chances to hit there. Especially strong with infantry that has a lot of MGs. If it's a spot that you want to hold against other infantry, like Pulamachiki, or good units with sniper rifles, and against vehicles with stuff like Apilas or low AD infantry that can one-shot medium tanks and light vehicles with their hard-hitting AT weapons. And the last role comes down to the cheap impact of infantry as well, and its ability to take cover, and that is flank protection. As this is where you especially can use infantry units that have the security trait and an AT weapon. There are a couple of those that are really good, but normal infantry can do it as well, where you just put 1 or 2 infantry units in areas where you can't really effectively put anything else in, because infantry often, if you put it on rest position, can stay still, spot enemies, and only engage if you wanted to engage. Otherwise, you can hold fire, and can be buying you more time than other units, because it is surviving a bit more when it's being shot at. And that can be really helpful for cheap, especially, where you just put an infantry unit there, a KDA, a Mordschützen or so on the sideline, and the enemy has to come around and deal with it, and you can buy time to react and focus with the rest of the forces on the spots where you actually want to win the game in. So flank protection, a really key part of the infantry role as well, and it really helps you also not getting side-shotted or so, and stopping enemy recon forces cost efficiently nicely as well. So yeah, this is it. Let me know what more you want to hear about infantry, and what you want to hear maybe in future videos, which category you want to see next. And thanks for watching. See you in the next one.